Some more melee tech in Fallout 4. Alright, so in the last video I went over the difference between third and first person melee. I also showed like some different combos, some basic things you can do. In this video I'm going to go over two things. I'm going to go over using VATS attacks to open up a combo on like single targets or groups of enemies, and also grenade chasing. So grenade chasing is a tactic where you can actually throw... Whoops. I don't know why I targeted that. Alright, so you might have wondered what the hell just happened there. Alright, let me go into third person so you gotta get a feel of what's happening. Alright, so what I'm actually doing is I'm following a grenade. The big upside to doing this is during VATS attacks you have a huge damage reduction that I think is like either 90 or like 95%, and it also applies to limb damage. So if you actually get hit by a grenade, you take pretty fat damage. This works with any grenade. Not taking the damage, but this technique. So what you do is you actually use a VATS attack on a grenade, and you have to do it really quickly. So you actually saw that I was in the air there. So you can actually like you can't blitz this far unless you get the upgraded blitz. I'm not even sure that it can even blitz that far. You can blitz roughly from like here to, I want to say, around here. This is like rough blitz range. By doing this, by throwing a grenade first and following it in, you can actually get within blitz range while a grenade lands. So you take almost no damage coming in, and the enemies get interrupted because molotov cocktails and grenades do stagger enemies, and you get within blitz range or melee range. So you're coming in, they're staggered, they're taking damage, you can immediately start whacking them in real time. Or you can just start going to town with blitz attacks and, blitz combos. So that's the overview. Another interesting thing you can do is sometimes you can travel through objects, which is kind of really hard to pull off and mostly done with actual grenades. Molotov cocktails have a huge hitbox. So let me see if I can actually pull this off. This is quite difficult to do, but it lets you essentially teleport through objects. So let me go to, let me see, what do I have? So I have a grenade, frag grenade or something. Oh, I guess I don't have one. I have a bottle cap mine. Alright. Alright, so we're not going to be able to do that. Alright. One thing you can do, though. Oh, let me actually get this off. You saw there I was able to go over this wall. So you can use this to go over terrain. And also to kite enemies. It requires some skill to do this. You have to execute a VATS attack almost immediately after throwing it. So that is the first thing I wanted to go over. The second thing is what I refer to as opening strike. So I'm actually going to kill one of these enemies just to kind of... There's like 3 enemies. They're all pretty tough. Alright, one's dead. Where's the second one? Alright, we're in danger. This thing can poison me. Let's kill this. This thing can poison, so I'm going to kind of like kite it for a second. Just regen some AP. Oops, let's jump over this. Alright. I'll cover a third thing in this video, but for now, here is the thing I wanted to go over. So if I just run up to this ghoul and smack him, there's an extremely high chance he's going to also smack me. One thing you can do specifically with Blitz build and with VATS attacks is you can do what I refer to as an opening strike, where you hit them with a VATS attack to get them staggered, and then you hit them with 1 or 2 follow-up attacks. So in this case, opening hit, second hit. Opening hit, second hit. Opening hit, second hit. Kind of kite. Alright, this dude poisons, so I'm going to have to use a med X to not die here. But the basic strategy of opening hit, second hit, third hit, parry, fourth hit. Alright, he's pretty much done. And he's gone. Alright, so the two things are the following the grenades. This can be used to increase your range, essentially to get you over to an enemy you can't blitz to that's out of blitz range, and also to teleport into them, dealing damage with a stagger, allowing you to get free hits in, kind of like how I was using opening strikes there, by getting that initial stagger on them to prevent them from counterattacking and hitting me. And then the second tech was just simply using VATS attacks to hit dudes, interrupt them, stagger them, so that you can get in hits. So the first one, there's grenades, molotov cocktails. They both do the same thing. The molotov cocktails are pretty cheap and easy to find, so you kind of see there, this like pulls me towards an enemy, AoE damage, stagger, you know, gets me close enough to start using melee attacks and VATS attacks. Then you have your opening strike just to interrupt dudes. You generally want to be smart with how you melee things. You don't want to just go gung-ho and just dive into a group of enemies. You want to try to get sneak attacks off if possible. And terrain is your friend when using a melee build. So like you can hop up on things, especially when dealing with ghouls or like death claws, and you know, drop down behind walls, jump over when you're ready to attack, make sure you parry often. The third thing that I want to cover in this video is you can headshot with melee. I don't know if you realize that. I think a lot of people aren't aware of that, but one thing you can do with melee is if you actually aim for the head and the collision of the sword hits their head first instead of their body, they will take scaled damage as if it was a headshot. This is mostly noticeable on Mirelurks, but it's also noticeable in any enemy. You might just randomly hit higher damage, and you'll be like, why did I hit higher damage? And the reason is you probably hit them in the head with your melee attack. So when you melee attack a Mirelurk, and you hit its shell, it takes like very little damage, but if you hit its head, it deals like insane damage. So you can actually somewhat accurately smack dudes in the head in first person. In third person, you're mostly doing overhand strikes. So you can kind of see here. So as long as you aim at around head level, you can usually hit them in the head to deal bonus damage. I actually really like the melee in this game. I think it's pretty well made overall. I mean, there's some bugs with like the movement in third person and everything, but the fact that you can headshot with a melee weapon, it's probably unintentional, but it's awesome. So that is the third tech you probably didn't know about. So yeah, you have your following molotov cocktails with Blitz. You have your opening strikes to interrupt enemies and then get free non-VATS hits on them, so you can conserve AP, especially when fighting multiple foes. And then if you hit an enemy in the head and get good at hitting them in the head in first and third person, or if you just play in one or the other, you will deal increased damage. So something to consider. Also, you can't parry bullets. You can parry attacks, like only physical attacks, but it can be really useful to parry almost immediately after attacking, and then like moving away and like repositioning and being kind of smart with your positioning. Another thing I didn't go over you can do is if an enemy is like here, you can always swing over things. So like, and enemies will try to attack you over things too. So this works both ways. Enemies will attack you over obstacles, but if you can get them, like, you know, enemies chasing you, you jump over this fence here, you can smack them. And you know, sometimes they won't attack you if you're like too high up or something, and you can still hit them. And then even hitting an enemy from here could be useful. But yeah, there's some more melee tech for you. Just kind of... Alright, one thing to note when throwing molotov cocktails, you have to throw them forward, like this. If you throw them at an angle, they'll be too high up to chase. You can chase grenades for whatever reason. I'm not sure why that is, but you can chase fragmentation grenades even if you throw them in a high arc. But cocktails have to be thrown straight at the enemy, and if they detonate before you get the VATS attack off, you will actually just stop like wherever mid-motion towards it. So that's just something to keep in mind. So you want to be like roughly this distance, like let's say the enemy is this pole, like around here, to follow it in. So what would happen is you would end up blitzing to like here with an AoE stun explosion at your feet. So yeah, that's it for my melee tech part 2 guide. There's going to be one more part 3 where I'm going to show some crazy shit with the Ripper that you probably didn't know about. The Ripper is definitely one of the most OP weapons in the game, specifically in third person, and I'll show you why, but that's it for this one, and thanks for checking this out.